Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. The joy and the pain. The balance has changed. The joy is definitely returning. And it's fan chat time. And we've got the boys. The boys are here. We've got Phil. Hi, Phil.
Hi, mate. Happy New Year.
We've got Darren. We're good. Got Darren, got Lee, got Jack.
Yeah.
And I think Daz is joining us as well. He's going to be with us, I'm sure. So, how about that? Do you remember the last fan chat? We were all down on Matt Sadler. And we we're all worried. Worried we were. Is he gonna last his job? So he's certainly turned it round, hasn't he? So what's happened? Was it the visit of Ben Boycott reminding him the way we should be playing? What is it? I want you each to pick one player that you think has made the difference for us. First of all, and you can't pick the same player. And first of all, I'm going to go to Jack.
Well, I think what's changed mostly is Farquharson's come back.
The priest.
Yes. Being able to go back to 5 at the back, which is what he wanted to start the season with. It's what we went through pre-season with. It's just helped us massively. And he's an absolute beast in defence. He's like Manny Month, but the Manny Month we always wanted.
I spoke to the priest after the Wrexham game. And normally I'm sort of full of words, as you might guess. But I just said, "You're immense." that was all I could say to him. I just must have repeated this about 4 times. He's the size of a house, and he is absolutely immense. We go next to Phil.
Well, Farquharson would have been my choice firstly. So with Jack on that. But a player who's only come in for the last couple of games, who I think has made a massive difference, is Jack Earing. I think the balance of him, Comley and Hutchinson in midfield, I'd say that's arguably been our best combination of the season. And finally, we've got Jack Earing playing as an attacking midfielder and not as a CDM, which I think is absolutely his best position. And I think considering how long he's been out for with a pretty serious knee injury, to come back in and play the way he's played in the last couple of games, I think he's been outstanding.
Yeah, I think it's very clear the Hutch works much better having another attacking-minded player alongside him. We remember last season playing Comley and Kinsella, didn't we? And we got too many defensive-minded players. And Jack Earing, obviously, is full of running. We have got to manage his minutes. But we'll see. Right then, next one, we go to Darren.
Ooh.
Who's your single player?
They would have been the 2. I'll give you one. I think Jackson Smith, and he has the odd, comical moment. But what I really like is how quickly he pings it out, like with either foot. I didn't realise he was 2-footed, and he gets it and it goes really quickly. We're not like waiting around. It's more of this front foot football. So I think he's been brilliant, personally. I know he's young and he's going to have the odd mistake. I mean, Daniels has a mistake weekly at the moment, it seems, but I think he's brilliant anyway. But just saying, you can be captain and still make mistakes. But I think his distribution has been brilliant. And he's made key saves at key times as well. So
absolutely,
I would have picked Earing and Farquharson, but yeah, Jackson Smith.
I just want to say about Jackson Smith, if Owen Evans hadn't got injured, he wouldn't have got his chance.
Yeah, and I think
sometimes as a manager, you need that bit of luck. And I think that's been a lucky moment for Matt Sadler.
I think the stars have aligned a little bit with that and other things, which I'm sure we'll discuss later.
But equally, Jackson Smith, in defence of Owen Evans, Jackson Smith has now got a very good few players in front of him with the Priest and Daniels and Akagbu. Dave doing very good. Right then, biggest challenge for Lee, because we're sort of going through a few. Who's your player?
I'm going to pick Brandon Comley for the simple fact I think the role he plays is probably more important than what people really give him credit for. Because what I've noticed over the last few games especially is the way that he can drop in and be like the other centre-back alongside Daniels, and that allows, alongside Priestley, which then allows Daniels to come forward and support Gordon, and then also it helps Dave to get forward and help Knowles on the right. And obviously before McKenty got injured, he was doing that. So I think that sort of pivotal role that Comley does, where he can drop back into the centre-back line and cover for Daniels or for McKenty or Priestley or any of them really. It just shows you that there's a bit of fluidity in that, and also he can still get onto the ball and he still can get forward himself. But I think he's really played that role really well, especially over the last sort of 3 or 4 games, and I think he's just showed how good he really is.
I 100% agree with that. Brandon Comley, being a little bit older, because we have a very young side, and having that little bit of experience in there, his composure on the ball is massive at key moments. If I was to pick a player, I know you've sort of, you guys have sort of had them all, really. But Isaac Hutchinson, the Gillingham match, he scored the hat-trick against Gillingham, and we thought, bam, what a player here. And then he sort of went off it. I don't know whether it was a knock or whether he's got his head turned or anything like that. But with the other guys that have come back in, with Comley, with Jack Earing, he's alive again. He's got options. The big criticism of Isaac Hutchinson is he gets on the ball and then he turns into trouble. He wanders all over the place and doesn't really make any incisive passes. And with Jack Earing in the team, he's got somebody to play with, hasn't he? And we can't forget Freddie Draper. The balls into Freddie Draper, particularly the second goal, the ball into Freddie Draper, and then he knocked that on for... In fact, that wasn't Freddie. Was that Freddie Draper, that one? I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. That was before he went off, wasn't it? So it's all good. It's all good. Freddie Draper, are we going to see him again?
Hopefully.
It doesn't sound like it from what's coming out of Lincoln at the moment. Again, I'm not sure. I don't think any of us can say for certain, but certainly listening to the noises that were coming out of the Lincoln manager yesterday and the game before, it sounds like they've got a few injury problems with strikers, and I think that there was talking about another deal for a potential striker, which seems to have hit the rocks. So hopefully we will keep him, but I'm not holding my breath. I think we may have seen the last of him. Yeah,
I think as far as a loan player, I think there's only one loan player I can think of in recent times that's done better than him, and that was Danny Johnson last season. Danny Johnson, 15 goals last season. I think we can't forget what a major impact he had on the team. So, question to Lee: have the bridges been burnt with DJ, or do you think it's getting that goal? If he gets to start at Southampton, could it all come good again for Danny Johnson?
I mean, again, we don't get to see what's happening behind closed doors, Simon, or what's happening in training day to day. All we get to see is what's at the games, and you can see some of the games where he's been an unused sub. He's been unhappy, which people can read more into it than what may be going on. But obviously, if you're a striker, I think most strikers are quite sort of selfish in a way. They want to be on. They want to be scoring the goals, don't they? That's the nature of being a striker. So if you're a striker and you're sitting on the sidelines and you're watching, you're chomping at the bit to get on, aren't you? As you sort of, as soon as you know the manager's going to be making a change, you want to be that change. Or if you're not starting, to come on. And I think that's where some of the frustrations probably come out of. Again, I was at Grimsby yesterday, and when he came on, he wasn't sulking. He wasn't. None of his body language was like that. He was involved in the game. He was giving it absolutely 100%, and he was getting involved. And obviously, he made his assist for Earing, and then he scored the goal himself at the end of the game. And you could see all the other players were around him, and they were all happy. So it's one of them, isn't it? It's like when he's not in the team and he's not being used, I can understand he's probably frustrated. He's one of the older members of the team, one of the older members of the squad. He probably wants to be playing all the time. But every time I've seen him come on, and especially yesterday, he absolutely gives it 100%. So whether it's something where, I think we've said this before, me and you, Simon, where maybe with Matt Sadler, he wants everybody to be pressing and to be running for the full 90 minutes and the high energy. And maybe DJ's not quite that sort of player that can do that for the full. But what he can do is he can score your goals, he can assist in goals, and he plays that way. So I think it's something perhaps him and Sadler may have to sort of come to some sort of an agreement where he'll do his best, DJ, and he'll run his heart out for us and he'll give 100%, but he's not going to be like a Freddie Draper or a DJT where he can run and run and run, because that's not his game. But his game is, as you saw yesterday, score a goal and assist.
Well, I think I want to come to Darren in a second, because I know it's psychology elements and that sort of thing. But I mean, for me, the team ethic. Now, DJ, without a doubt, he's going to be majorly fed up with what's happened for him at Walsall. As Lee's just said, he's a striker who's not playing. He's a proven goal scorer who's not been given minutes. We've even seen that come out today. His 50th game and 20 goals. Like, that proves his pedigree, and how he hasn't been playing is a mystery, really. But for him to have a chance of a shot and then to lay it in for Earing, who was better placed, that tells me that he's thoroughly a team player. He might be frustrated and fed up with his situation. We know that he had a bit of a blue with Lee Plumlett, saying he was fed up. And we saw him briefly after the game, and he was heading to his car, and he just looked totally fed up. But back in the team and scoring, I think, Darren, will all that be forgotten if he starts playing and has a run in the team?
I think it's good that he's annoyed, because that shows that he wants to play, and he's got, like, the confidence in his ability to kind of, he knows what he can do when he gets on the pitch. I thought, like Lee said, I thought he worked his absolute box off on whatever day it was. Yeah. I don't even know what day it is myself, to be honest, at the moment. But the Grimsby, I thought he worked really, really hard.
Yesterday it was.
Yeah, was it yesterday? Honestly, no idea. And I think he, like with the psychology side, I think that's a good sign that he was, he didn't like sulk. He didn't look lethargic. He worked his socks up. And what I think, I would play him up front every day of the week, because I think he's clever. I don't think he gives you that, as we've said, that all action Freddie Draper type style. But that cute little balling for Earing, I don't think any of their other strikers play that ball, probably bar Draper. Yeah. Jamil Matt's not making that pass. I don't think DJT is either, or anyone else. He's clever enough to make those little sorts of passes. So yeah. I think it's great if we can get him firing. And I should also point out, I think he's our third or fourth highest top scorer. And I think with that goal on yesterday, I think he's probably second or third in goals per minute in the squad as well.
Oh, yes, he is. I think he is well up there. I've looked at that before.
Yeah, so he plays, he scores. So I would have him up there with a Draper replacement if he goes. So
yeah. Against Southampton, DJT and DJ, high energy, young sprinter alongside him. It's not a perhaps.
It sort of worked, didn't it? Like
a bad thing.
I think their back four was. I should just finally say, I think their back four was in. Luke Waterfall was like running in treacle. So I think if you listen to their commentary, they were like quite scathing of him being like the slowest player they've ever seen. So
yeah, I think it wasn't a great game for them, but Walsall were clinical, and that's all we want us to be. I'll come to Jack for the next question. You'll see a comment there, Bill Faraday. Earing coming on has been good, but where does Sturt come in when he's back to take? Does he take Comley's spot? So I'm going to widen that question to you. Everybody fit? Who plays in the Walsall midfield, Jack?
The midfield is Stirk, Hutchinson, and Tierney.
Stirk, Hutch, and Tierney.
Yeah.
For those middle three. Ah, interesting. Everybody agree with that?
No.
No.
Now, as we know, opinions vary, so there's no incorrect answer. Phil, what do you think? What's our best? Where do you think our best three is?
Well, I think addressing the question, I think it is an interesting question about what does happen when Stirk is fit. For me, it's Stirk or Comley, not both, playing in that deeper role. And the way he's playing recently, the way he's playing at the moment, I'd stick with Comley. I know Stirk's been good for us. I've got no problem with Stirk at all. I think he's had a good season, but going on form, I would stick with Comley, and I would play him or Stirk, not both. So I think as things are, I'd stick with Comley, Earing, and Hutchinson, and then you've got Tierney that can come on and do kind of Earing or Hutchinson's role if either of them need a blow or a break, or if either of them are out. But for me, like you mentioned earlier, the Comley Kinsella thing from last season, I think it's a similar kind of thing with Stirk and Comley. I think it's one or the other. But for me at the moment, I'd go Comley, Earing, Hutchinson.
I think it's Stirk is definitely a CDM. He doesn't look so comfortable further forward, does he?
No.
I don't think. Lee, next.
Good,
Who's our best three?
I'm taking this as McKenty's a centre back and not
No. This is open. You tell me.
I'm going to have McKenty as one of the back three. I know Dave's done really well, but I think when McKenty's fully fit, I think he takes Dave's place. And because we played sort of the 3-5-2, I would want Comley at the moment over Stirk, only because I think Comley can cover that centre back better than Stirk can. I know he can get back and he can tackle, but I just think Comley's a little bit better in that position, which then means like the back three between them have got a bit more confidence to get forward, like Daniels and McKenty can. And then I think in front of Comley, I would go with Hutchinson, and I would probably go with Tierney when he's fully fit. But I would have Earing definitely on the bench, and he'd be one of my first changes, because I think if we come on to it a bit later on, I think that's probably an area where Matt Sadler can improve when he's got a fully fit squad. He's like that squad of changing it after sort of 70-75 minutes when it needs to be changed.
Yeah. Darren, your thoughts?
Yeah, same as Phil. Commas, Earing and Hutchinson. I think Earing makes Hutchinson play better, and Hutchinson makes Earing play better. And just a small fact, Jack Earing's output now is better than Tierney's, who's played considerably more this season.
Yeah.
He scored and assisted twice, and I think Tierney hasn't scored in the league.
No, he had that one goal, didn't he? That was in the cup, wasn't he? Yeah.
Against Sheppey. Yeah.
I think
Earing's a better player personally. Tierney's a nice change. I think we've missed that on the bench, right? Because we've had Taylor Allen having to come on. I know he scored against Wrexham, but I think long term, I wouldn't be so confident in having Allen as our first change as a midfielder. But Tierney, and it's a squad game these days, right? So some games it might suit Tierney a little bit more. And we've got to rest Earing as well, right? Because we can't play him every week if he's just come back from an ACL injury.
No.
So yeah,
for me, it's a breakdown if we put too many minutes into him, isn't he?
Yeah. So I think Tierney would be above Allen for sure. But I think as Lee mentioned quite rightly, that's what we should improve in this January window, that first or second change in those 2/8, because I'll repeat myself later, McKenty's not a midfielder.
Yeah. McKenty, not a midfielder. He's been one of our best midfielders.
No.
Smith can change the pace of the game better than Evo. We've touched on that, haven't we? I'm just catching up on these messages. Evo always seems to slow things down. Yeah, that was a big criticism of him, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest flaw in his game. The thing that he needs to improve more is his distribution, and the speed of his distribution. I think Evans is a good goalkeeper in lots of other ways, but no, I think Jackson Smith has earned his place, definitely.
Yeah, keep him in there. It's good now. We've got options. I think Lee's just very briefly mentioned on Matt Sadler. Has his mindset changed since Ben Boycott's visit?
I think he has.
As Ben Boycott said to him, I've told all the fans we're going to have attacking front foot football. What are you doing? What the hell are you doing? So I think that.
Oh, sorry, Simon. I was just going to say, sort of the last 4 games I've been to, we've seemed to have got the ball forward quicker, and we've more not just quicker, but with purpose. We're not just hitting it long and hoping. There's more passing, getting out wide. I think Gordon and Knowles have really pushed further, probably an extra 10 yards forward. And then you've got like Daniels and McKenty or Dave also pushing more into midfield. I think somebody put up a Daniels heat map of one of the games, and it just showed you how far he was getting forward on the left-hand side to support in with Gordon. And I think that's earlier on when we said with Conley sitting back and sort of screening there with Priestley, that's been able to do that. And I think that's something that's definitely changed in the last 3 or 4 games, where if you go back sort of 4 or 5 weeks to sort of, we weren't really playing a 3-5-2. It was more of a 5, wasn't it? And then sort of the midfield, we were on top of them. And then you had like sort of Freddie Draper up front on his own, and he had nobody within sort of 10, 15 yards of him. But now when we're playing, and especially yesterday in the last few games, you have a look how many bodies we're getting into the box or around the box. That's the difference. Sort of, we get a corner or a throw in. It's not just 1 or 2 players that are into the box. There's like 3 or 4, and there's a couple hanging on the end of the box. So as soon as we get the ball back and we recycle it, we're keeping that pressure on. So teams aren't getting out easier and relieving the pressure. We're keeping the pressure on teams more, and then they're making a mistake, and that's where we're getting our sort of chances from. It's sort of a reverse of what teams were doing to us earlier in the season.
Well, previously we'd get a goal and then we'd think, we got to be careful we don't concede, so we'd all go defensive. And Wrexham, which, let's face it, are the best team in the league, and we were still going at them at 2-1 up. Weren't we? We were still attacking them. And Grimsby, we were still attacking them in the last minute, hence the 6th goal. And that's definitely a mindset change or an instructional change that Matt Sadler has implemented. And as far as, I think, as Lee's quite rightly said, Draper previously was on his own up front and allowing Furrow and all that business.
I think the problem was that it was just too negative, and even against Alfreton, we were playing like, I can't even tell, like McKenty, Sturt, Comley, 3 centre halves.
It's all defensive players.
It was so defensive. It's untrue, and I genuinely believe he must have had a word, because he didn't even look happy at that Alfreton game at home. I think there was a picture taken of him I saw somewhere, and even though we were winning and it was terrible, he didn't look happy.
What I want to just follow on from with that, Freddie Draper was on his own up front. Now we've got the attacking mentality. Freddie Draper has got so much more support up there. So you switch him for DJ. That's what DJ wants, and that fits to DJ's game, and that's perfect. DJ will get goals when there's that much activity going around him. You give him space, you get a ball to him in that area, he's going to score. If you ask him to control a ball that's coming from the centre half in the sky, he's very rarely going to do any good with that. But keeping it down on the floor, getting it in, plenty of attacking players around him.
Even if that isn't DJ's game, there's 3 other strikers who can do that.
Yeah. And DJT, what a breath of fresh air he was. Hey, he was a breath of fresh air, wasn't he?
He's played like that 3 times.
You are?
He's played well in his last 3 games.
Yeah, that's it. When he came on, he did all right, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Against Wrexham. I remember him against, I think it was Harrogate when we lost 1-0. He played really well then as well. So he's not as... Everyone says that he's rubbish. He ain't rubbish. He's not DJ, so people just tend to moan.
The thing is, I think breaking through as a young lad is hard. We've seen marvelous Marv Onabora-Canlan has been released, and he's not a bad player, but it's just not getting through. And we see that Harvey Griffiths as well has gone back. He only had that one appearance, didn't he? Harvey Griffiths. He came on in the JPT and didn't look interested. For me, I was very disappointed with him.
Can I just say, Simon, just on that mentality thing, just before you finish, that's why I made my little wry comment about McKinty or McKenty, however we want to pronounce it. McKinty. So we were playing 3 centre halves and a centre half as a number 8. Right.
Yeah.
He's not a number 8. Same reason Kinsella was never a number 8, and it's the same issue. It's so negative. It's unbelievable. So he chipped in with a goal against Tranmere. Was it Tranmere when he scored from centre half in the same sort of way as he'd come before? So I think having Earing or Tierney or Hutchinson as those 8s with Comley behind, it just means that we're so much more progressive and we'll play through the thirds a lot more. And that's why I was always against Kinsella playing in that role, because he was never a number 8 in a billion years. And the same way McKinty, he's never a number 8 in a million years as well.
Yeah,
so I think that positivity going forward has been key to the change.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see McKenty in the midfield for the rest of the season, because apparently he's out for 3 months, and Sadler says touch and go whether he'll appear for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's a quality centre half.
Luckily, we got David. So
yeah, David Cagboo, as long as he doesn't disappear. Word is that Freddie will play against Southampton at the weekend, and then they'll recall him. If he's fit, I think it was just tiredness. I think.
I think. Can I just jump in on that one, Simon? I think it was tiredness, but I do think he's been overused. I think there's been several games this season where he's looked absolutely out on his feet in the last 15-20 minutes of the game, and he hasn't been taken off. And I think that's probably caught up with him. And we've talked about Sadler's use of substitutions, which I still don't think is great. And I think him in particular, as a young striker who, let's face it, gets through a hell of a lot of work in the games. Yeah. I mean, he really does run himself into the ground at every game. And he's had Danny Johnson on the bench and not brought him on several times. So I think that's a substitution that should have been made a lot more often. So I think, Matt Sadler was talking after the Grimsby game about how it was, I think he just said it was just fatigue for Freddie. It was just the number of games that he's playing. Yeah. And there was a little bit of me that was thinking, well, yeah, it probably is, but I think you could have managed his workload a bit better.
Yeah. I think Lee's mentioned that on many times, really. Matt Sadler is not very smart with his management of players on the pitch. You can see players are actually exhausted, can't you, Lee? And he's just leaving them on there.
I can get it to a certain extent, Simon, because if you're winning a game 2-1 and you're the manager and you make like 2 or 3 subs because a couple of your players are tired, and then you concede a goal, you'll get jumped on because people say, well, why you made the change? But then the flip side to that is, like Phil just said, if you leave your players on too long and they're getting fatigued and they make a mistake and they concede a goal anyway, it's going to happen. And more to the point, they get injured. And I think part of McKenty's injury was against Wrexham. Tom Knowles was getting a little bit fatigued and McKenty was trying to cover his right back position more, and he went in for that sliding tackle, and that's where he's done his injury. Now, I'm not saying if Sadler made a change there and took Knowles off and brought like Joe Fawkes on for like that last 10-15 minutes, McKenty still might have got that injury. But I think there's certain situations where Matt Sadler could have helped the team out a bit more. Yeah. And like, I think Tom Knowles, especially in the last couple of games, again, yesterday at Grimsby, I think in the last sort of 10-15 minutes, he's running his heart out and he's giving his all because that's the sort of player he is, Tom Knowles. But I'm looking at Sadler and I'm thinking, you've got Joe Fawkes, surely, especially when we're 5-1 up, last 10, 15 minutes, surely you could take Tom Knowles off to give him a bit of a break and bring Joe Fawkes on for that last 10, 15 minutes. That's my like little bugbear I've got with Sadler at the moment. And I get it, sort of, if it's a close game, if you make the change and it goes wrong, you're going to get crucified. But like yesterday, we're 5-1 up and we're cruising. Surely Joe Fawkes is good enough to come on for the last 10 minutes and give Tom Knowles more of a break. That's just my opinion, but I think that it's happened a few times now. I think something for the rest of the season, especially as we get towards the business end of the season, is something he's going to have to sort of look at a little bit more, because obviously you think if Tom Knowles gets injured now, what happens? Who drops into that? Who drops into that position? Because I think Tom Knowles, let alone I think again, his final ball is not the best. I think he has really improved in that position, and you can see he is getting better. The defensive side is getting better. He's got the energy to get forward, and he can get a good ball in. But if he was to get injured, what system would we play then? Would we still stick with the 3-5-2, or would he be forced to go back to a 4 at the back? It's one of them. If he gets injured at the moment,
that's part of the January replacements, isn't it? And right wing backs. A good right wing back might take Tommy Knowles out the team. Tommy Knowles is a really good outlet for us, even though he hasn't had any assists and hasn't scored. He's only scored the 1 and 2 assists, I think. But he is a good outlet for us, and he's running at the end of the game yesterday to sort of get us back up the pitch and that sort of thing. That was massive and super fitness from his perspective, and we'd be struggling to replace that energy. I think Joe Fawkes is not the player who would be able to do that. He's more of a right back, isn't he?
Oh, he is, Simon. But again, like yesterday, the last sort of 10, 15 minutes of that game, we're cruising at 5-1. He could have easily come on and gave Knowles more of a break. I mean, you think in the last couple of minutes, if Knowles going for a run, tweaks an hamstring or something, and then he's out for the rest of the season.
Well, he's going to be a good outlet against Southampton, perhaps, because nobody likes pace, do they? But I think the Southampton players will be probably all quicker than him, perhaps. Oh dear. Is anyone worried about losing players in the summer, as there is a few out of contract? That sort of takes us on to really where we need to strengthen in January. What positions? I think we've all started off. We've got a right wing back in Tom Knowles that we're very exposed there. I think if he were to have an injury,
who would you want?
Pardon?
Who would you want as a wing back?
Well, I think we'll talk about who at a different juncture. I think we just think positions at the minute. I've got Cameron Norman in my head. Sorry. What other positions do you think are critical? Because certain injuries, like for example, if the Priest got injured again, that would. So what could really mess us up for the rest of the season if we don't get adequate covering? So which players do we need to cover?
But saying that, Simon, I think it's going to depend over the next week, maybe 2 weeks, who goes out firstly. Because you just said if Priestley gets injured, but at the moment we've got Williams and we've got Mayonnaise. So if them two are good enough and Matt Sadler thinks they're good enough, then they stay, and that's your cover.
But I don't think either of those are good enough cover. Maintain where we are.
Well, if they're not good enough cover, then they need to go out, then, don't they? Either on loan or you need to sell them, and don't have them clogging up the system, right?
Harry Williams wasn't expecting to be playing games this season. He was expecting to be sort of being built for the occasional substitute appearance.
But I think this is where you got to be a little bit careful, though, Simon, because if you bring a centre back on loan, another young centre back on loan, I know Dave's done really well, but you could end up with somebody who you think is going to be better than Mayonnaise and Williams, but they turn out to be worse. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's recruiting.
If you go out and get an experienced centre back like Priestley and Daniels, they're saying quality, then great. But at this time of season, it's the availability and it's the cost, because all the good players generally aren't available, are they? Because they're either already at clubs that are going for promotion, or it's clubs where they're trying to offload players because they're not very good. So you have to be a little bit careful of who you bring in. I mean, at the moment, on the centre-back position, I know with McKenty being out probably for the rest of the season, we may look a bit weaker on there. But my preference would be right wing back. And then, depending on what's happening with Drake, if Lincoln are definitely having him back, and we're down to 3 strikers, we're definitely going to need another striker in. And then, for whatever reason, if Matt Sadler is not going to play DJ fully and just have him as a bit part, you may even need to have another striker come in. So I think a right wing back, a striker, and possibly another striker is the priority to start off with.
How about left wing back? Liam Gordon's been fairly consistent, and don't misunderstand me, I think he's ace. But I mean, 1 goal and 2 assists, and he's hardly missed a game. So does he need more competition?
I think both wing backs are the same, right? They were absolutely brilliant work ethic and stuff, but their output is quite minimal, I would say. Yeah. So I agree with the right wing back. I think Gordon's better than Knowles personally, but I think he does. Taylor Allen's just. I mean, we've got to be careful with how many players we have in the squad, right? But I think Taylor Allen's probably is understood, even though I wince at that. But I think, realistically, I think the money has to be repurposed more right wing backs. I think we all agree on that, as well as a striker. And I think another number 8, personally. Now Griffiths has gone as well.
Yeah. I don't know. We've got quite a few there, haven't we? Is Ram going to get a game, or is Ram going to go
again? Because I don't think Sadler trusts him to play week in, week out, or come on much, personally.
Because he's 19 now. He's just had a birthday. He needs games, doesn't he? He's either going to be giving him regular minutes, or he's going to send him out on loan.
Solihull, that's the best place for him.
Solihull Moors, yeah, that's
or Kidderminster, just anywhere in the National League.
Yeah.
Can he not play for a third team though if he's played for 2 already, or does that not apply to the national? I genuinely don't know.
I think
isn't it 3 in a season?
I think it is, but I think that's only if it's EFL. I think because it's national. I think because it's National League, I think you can get away with it. Because I think down in the National League, and especially like National League North and South, they can sort of sign players all the way through the season until about March, isn't it?
Yeah. So there's no window there, is there? Yeah, I think the rule for the EFL is you can sign for 3, but you can only play for 2 in a season. Because we had that with that Leighton Orient guy, striker, didn't we?
There's also drug heater as well.
Say again.
Oh, yeah.
Drug heater as well.
Yeah.
Good go there.
That Evan Weir has been signed. He's a developing centre half or left back. So he's somebody that's, again, ready for next season. So that's good. I'm going to go to Phil for this next one. Where's this question gone? Tough one. Do you think Sadler is the man to get us out of this league? Phil?
God.
You're looking a bit casual there. I thought I'd throw that one in.
No. I don't know. I'm still not completely sold on him, if I'm being honest. I think obviously we're in a good run at the moment, but 5 wins out of 6 doesn't define a season. A season is over 46 games, and we've still only won 1 more game than we've lost this season. We've won 10 and lost 9. We've had periods of the season or games where we've looked decent. We've had other periods where we haven't. So I'm still not completely sold on him, but certainly that's not by any means me saying Sadler out. Not by any means. you certainly can't, ditch the bloke with the current state of affairs. To me, this. I mean, you've just been talking about January. To me, this is crunch time for me. I think for Sadler and for this season, we made a right mess of January last season. Let's be honest. We're in a very, very similar position, almost exactly the same position as we were in last season, as we're in this season. And we left January last season with a worse squad than we went in with. And we can't afford to make the same mistake again. Trevelyan said when they made that statement, when it looked as though Sadler was potentially a couple of games away from the sack, Trevelyan made a statement saying that funds would be available to strengthen in January. And I don't think we can afford to pussyfoot around. I think they need to make a statement and bring in a couple of 3 good players, not just bits and pieces loan players. We've done this too often in the past where we've looked at our squad and we've gone, oh well, we've got that player in that position who's okay and they can do a job there. We've got this player in that position who's not bad and they can do a job there. No, let's start thinking more positively. Let's start bringing in players who are going to make a difference. And I agree. I think we 100% need another striker because Jamil Matt's getting older and seems to be having more and more spells out injured.
We've got Ote coming back as well.
You what? Sorry, mate.
We've got Ote coming back as well.
Yes, there is Ote to come back in, but I think particularly if this is me going on the assumption that we won't have Freddie Draper, then I think we definitely need to bring a striker in. I think I agree with Darren. We need another midfielder in. And also, I agree with everything that was said about the wing back positions. But Sadler, let's back him properly. Let's give him the opportunity to bring in some players who can make a real difference. The one thing for me for Sadler now moving forward is learning from mistakes, if you like, or learning from things that have gone wrong in the first part of the season. We've just been talking earlier about certain players who we would play, what our combinations would be, particularly in midfield. My opinion is that he's kind of stumbled on this combination in midfield because certain players have been out injured. I don't think for 1 minute that the midfield would have been Comley, Hutchinson and Earing if Ryan Sturkenosh and McKenzie had been fit. But now that they've come in and shown that they're, in my opinion, doing a good job and arguably the best 3 in those positions, stick with them. Don't put McKenzie back in midfield. Keep him as a centre half. So if he can start to learn from some of these mistakes and put right things that were going wrong, in my opinion, going wrong earlier on in the season, then there's no reason why he can't take the team forward. Yeah,
I agree. Interesting comment here. I like Anthony's comment here. If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Challenging comment from the January Stars. What's this nonsense about choosing the best midfield? It depends on the opposition. Do you think we should change our opposition? Just change our team to suit the opposition?
We did it against Sutton. Didn't work. Got battered 4-0. Worst away day I've ever had.
We should be imposing ourselves on other teams, not the other way around. And I'm sick of it for the last 5-10 years. Yeah. The only time we've imposed on other teams was the Dean Smith Neely season, and since then it's been terrible.
Sadler, after the Sutton game, when he tried to match up and go as physically to them as they did to us, hasn't tried to do that since, and we haven't lost by more than a goal apart from Barrow. That's the only game we've lost by more than 1 goal.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. I think at this level, if you try to contain teams, you get spanked.
Yeah, you get punished.
You've got to attack. It's about attacking. In this league, you got to be solid at the back, not give any daft goals away, and attack teams. And the energy that we're giving at the moment is perfect. And as Anthony's saying there, as long as they're performing well and they're fit, just a bit of rotation, as Lee's pointed out earlier, using the bench, because we've now got some players on the bench that can keep things fresh. But I think that's a tough one, I think.
Well, the thing is, Simon, as well, like now, after Saturday, we've got 21 league games left. We probably need 12, 13 wins out of them 21 to be in and around the top 7 places. So in that, you've got to be positive, sit back and just hope to get results.
Yeah.
We've got a squad where we should be able to go out and make the results. And if we have a good go and we fall short, we fall short. But sort of go out and have a go. Don't think what if when we get to the end of the season. If we can get to the sort of the game 40, game 41, and we're in with a chance, I think we'll make it, because nobody will want to come to the Bescot, because let's face it, when that place is rocking, it's rocking, isn't it? And I think Wrexham have seen that. So you think if we got a chance of finishing in the top 7 and there's 3 or 4 games left and there's a couple left at the Bescot, it's going to be horrible for whoever has to come, right? And then us going away, you've seen all season how many fans we take, even when we've had a poor patch. You imagine sort of last game of the season going to Wimbledon. If we've got to go to Wimbledon to get a win, to get into the playoffs, and Wimbledon need a win to get into the playoffs, it's going to be one hell of a match. It's going to be a sellout.
We'll probably have more supporters there, won't they?
It'll be absolute rocking, but that's what I mean. I think to a certain extent, Matt Salah's got a bit of a free hit this second part of the season, because we're probably going to end up finishing higher than what we have done in the last 4 or 5 anyway, on points and a position. Just get into that mentality, just keep going and try and get as many wins as we can. Like I said, I think if we get 12, 13 out of the last 21 games, we'll be there or thereabouts. So let's go and do it. I know a lot of people say, well, this season's been about stabilisation and building and everything. If you've got a chance to get in there, take it, because you never know what's going to happen next season. And then once we're in there, we can enjoy it. Just go out. And I think some of the players are starting to play with a bit more freedom. You can see, like, sort of, they're not got so much weight on the shoulders. They're playing with a smile on the face and they're enjoying it. Let's just keep doing it and keep grinding out the results, and let's see what happens in the next 5, 6 league games.
That momentum is massive, isn't it? Momentum. That's it's the mentality, isn't it? Once you've got a positive winning mindset, it takes you along a lot of the way there. Who or what kind of player do you think makes this current team better with the transfer window open? So what kind of player would make us better?
Good players.
Right, mate. The Hutton from Swindon.
Who's this?
Hutton from Swindon, their wing back. I'd have much delight in doing over Michael Flynn, but also it'd be great to get a wing back who apparently is one of the best crossers in the league. So,
well, if you've got somebody who can
I'll take peanuts.
If we with the right wing back we've identified, if we get a right wing back in who creates goals and assists, then that makes the team so much better, because our wing backs aren't creating enough goals. So that's 100% the one, really, for me. Aramidi, he's probably about 3 or 4 weeks away from the first team. I don't think he'd be a starter, but I think he's a good player to bring on if you need a goal last 20 minutes. Sort of help maintain things.
Again, Simon, when he's fully fit, it'll be the pace, the energy he's got. Because you think sort of the way we're playing at the moment, sort of like you just said, the last 15, 20 minutes, if Matt Sadler uses him properly, he can come on to finish teams off. Or if we're struggling and we may be drawing, or we may even be losing a game, he could be one of them who comes on that last 15, 20 minutes to help us get something out of the game, or even convert that draw into a win. I think sort of towards the end of January, I think hopefully when most of the players are back, Matt Sadler will have a good sort of squad, sort of 18 match day squad to use, and hopefully he uses it to his full advantage to get us as many points as we can get.
Yeah, I think perhaps could Aramidi play left wing back, or is that probably not the answer?
You could play right wing back, right footed.
I thought he was left footed. Is he right footed?
He normally plays on the left.
Well, earlier in the season, he did sort of put him at left wing back, didn't he, for half a game, and he got absolutely slaughtered, didn't he?
Yeah. So maybe I suppose he's the option if you want to go 4-4-2 at any point. So he's a player you can bring on to change it as well.
And I think that may be the next sort of stage in Matt Sadler's sort of evolution. Sort of when we get towards the end of January, and if we keep this run going and we're in with a shout, there might be the odd game where the 3-5-2 is okay for sort of 65, 70 minutes, but that last 15, 20 minutes, he may need to have a bit of a gamble and just change it, Simon. I mean, you sort of saw it last season with Stevenage, how they sort of set their stall, but they weren't scared to change it, to throw 3 subs on in the last 10 minutes.
They did us, didn't they? That was it. Making those changes and the impact substitutions, isn't it?
Yeah, but also having that tweaking your formation. I know the 3-5-2's done us great, and hopefully it carries on. But there might come a game where, for the last 10, 15 minutes, he just needs to tweak it a little bit and go with sort of 3 up front or even 4 up front if it's like the last 5 minutes, just to get something out of the game. That could be really the difference at the end of the season.
So maybe the alternative option up front, one of the striker options should be a big physical presence with a lot of heading ability for our new right wing back to pick the balls into, perhaps.
Jamil Matt. We've already got him.
Jamil Matt. Well, Jamil Matt is very good for holding the ball up, but
doesn't score.
Jamil Matt. Ollie, no bad.
I'm really pleased with Jamil Matt. Last few games, he has been excellent, in fairness.
The bloke I sit next to, Nick, he used to go, oh, every time he come on. And I said, he's going to score today. This is against Tram, he's going to score today. And he stood up when he scored and he looked around and he went, who's been booing Jamil Matt?
I think that was terrible that people were booing him when he was coming on sub.
I think they were booing the decision though, instead of DJ, not him personally.
Yeah, but that's just as ridiculous.
Yeah,
but that's.
Well, I mean, when it's again, we're in the middle of a terrible run. I'm going to come down in a bit. I think that was in the middle of this is a young little Sadler who's whose opinion. But yeah, so I personally think just on that question. I think a really good right wing back would transform us personally into a better side. And I think if you look at where Matt, DJT, or whoever have been playing the last when we've had this good spell of more progressive football, they've not been playing as a number 9. They've been playing slightly withdrawn. Yeah, so I think a striker that's a little bit clever or a little bit skillful that can link in with Hutchinson and Earing and get the ball out wide, I think would be really transformative as well.
Yeah, personally. I think the rumor is that we have a young striker coming in on loan to replace Freddie Draper.
It's that bloke from Colchester.
Pardon?
Do you reckon it's that bloke from Colchester?
I think it's likely to be somebody from Premier or Championship, but I don't have a name, so that's it's just a random rumor, if you like. Rob Holden's saying Ram to Drogheda, sorry, could be a shout.
No, they only play part time. They only train part time. He'll be training 2 days a week, and he'll be sat in his room the rest of the week. That will not do him any good at all, Simon, especially at his age, mate.
Do they play in the summer though? Perhaps, so maybe you could go there and get a few games whilst we're in pre-season, and May to June, sort of. Or I don't know. Just guess.
I think so, Darren. I think for Ram, I think he needs to go somewhere where he's going to be playing regularly, but also training regularly. So if you go somewhere where they're sort of part time, and it's further away, obviously it's in a different country, which for some people say it'll be good for his growing up and everything. But if he's only going to be training, say 2 days a week or 3 days a week, he's got a lot of time on his hands to be doing nothing, where he probably doesn't really know anybody at the moment and all that. And I think it could be detrimental to his development. I think Solihull or Kidderminster would be a lot better. I think especially Solihull. I think especially Solihull, because I think Solihull are full-time training and playing, aren't they? So I think it'd be even.
Well, could you not train 2 times a week with them, then train 3 times a week with us?
Ryanair special to Dublin, 20 quid return.
Moving on, I think probably National League for Ram is it's looking that way. I thought he was going to get into the team, and but it's looking not that at the moment. So I think if he's not going to get through into the team, National League loan would be the right thing to do. Do you think we'll get offers for Hutchinson in January if we haven't already? And is this the challenge for Trivela to say no to the money and hold on to your best players?
I don't think he'll be the only one that teams are looking at either, Simon. I think obviously Hutchinson's probably the most highly profile of other teams will be looking at, but I think there'll be teams looking at sort of Liam Gordon, sort of Daniels, sort of looking at
Daniels is signed up, isn't he? He's signed up to 20. He's signed up for next season.
Well, he is
signed up for next season.
He signed up, Simon, but it doesn't mean that clubs can't come in and make a bid for him. And then it's like you just said, it depends on how strong Trivela are, and I suppose it depends on the bid, because sometimes money talks, doesn't it? If there's enough money on the table, sometimes you've got to take the offer if you can use that money to go and get a replacement. Ideally, the ideal situation is we don't lose anybody whatsoever in the summer, and we add quality, like Phil's already said, to make us better. But obviously, if somebody comes in with a ridiculous amount of money, you've got to, I suppose, Trivela have got to have a look at it at a certain degree, haven't they, to see what's involved in it.
It depends where it fits within the plan. I don't think Trivela are looking for a little mini win from. I don't think we're in the position, obviously, with Adebayo where we have to cash in on a player. I think Trivela can easily turn down offers and say no, and then
£1 million.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean, Jack. If somebody comes in with an outstanding offer, then sometimes you've got to take it, because then you've got to look and see what they can do with that money. But what I'm saying is they don't have to sell anybody. They're not under any pressure. It's not like in years gone by where we're looking to offload a player because we need to pay the rent or to cover some cost. It's sort of the ball's more in our court where we can easily turn offers down, or you should think we could turn offers down. But obviously, Jack's already said it. If someone comes in with an obscene offer, sometimes you've got to take it as well, haven't you?
Yeah. It's a difficult one. I think it is a money game, isn't it? The way Hutch is playing at the minute, he is going to get attention, and the offers are going to be coming in for him. So 11 goals from midfield, with sort of like 6-7 assists and that sort of stuff. It's massive, isn't it? It's massive. So it's how strong they will be. And but as I say, I think in my mind, Trivela, because the investment idea in my mind for them, I could be wrong, but I mean, they want to take Walsall into League One, perhaps Championship, and then it's a much bigger proposition where they'll get a proper fee. They'll probably get a proper return for their money. 600,000 or 700,000 for Hutch that they'll have to put half of it back into the team is not really a return. So I think that's quite short term. Jack disagrees. Go on, Jack.
No, as you know, I agree. It's not worth it.
No, I've got you. Okay, yeah.
What I would say though, Simon, I think a few of you have touched on it. This is the chance now for Trivela to show that they're different to the old regime.
Yeah.
And whether that's refusing offers or getting players in now to really push us forward, because we always have a terrible January, don't we? So it would be honestly heartbreaking now if we get through January and we get into the same position as the last 5 years. It would be genuinely heartbreaking, because I feel like go on. So I feel like that's the reason for this. I feel like the last few results it's been like a parallel universe in terms of I wasn't expecting it. Genuinely, I don't think even the biggest Sadler supporters were expecting 5 wins out of 6. I think it's a rift in the time-space continuum we've experienced.
Hey, you steady on my language like that.
And I think they've got a real chance now to they've jolted me, so I'm much happier than I was 6 weeks ago. But yeah.
So what do you, Darren? So what do you think come May when we get promoted? Then what do you think's happened then?
Everyone would be happy. If we get a Labour win in the next election, and then I genuinely think we've gone back to normal.
Now politics on here. Now politics. on our last fan chat, we pointed out we were optimistic, hoping we get 12 points out of that set of fixtures, and we got 15. So,
honestly, I genuinely didn't see this coming, and I think a lot of people didn't.
No one did.
Oh yeah, okay.
Well, I think most people would have predicted Crewe and Wrexham beating us, and Matt Sadler getting the sack. The fact that he's won both of them has spoke volumes about
the style of football
he's
for
here
me.
to stay, yeah.
Simon, what's really like sort of turned me in a sense. It's not like we had a lucky 1-0 attritional win. We absolutely like the style of football. They couldn't deal with Daniels stepping into midfield or anything. And I was just watching it, looking at my dad, thinking, what is going on here? Like, you compare that to Alfreton or Harrogate or Forest Green. It was like, what is going on? I just started laughing yesterday. It's just brilliant.
Yeah, compare it to the Forest Green game, and it was like. But again, that's Ben Boycott has got to have come in and said, "This isn't the way I've told you to play." He's gone round and spoke to all the players, attack them, attack, and that's what the Americans want to see. The Americans want to see goals. They want to see attacking football. 1-0 wins are not going to please Americans because the Americans want to see the style of glamour and lots of goals. So that's one. Just answering a question there. If we don't get a right wing back for whatever reason, can OT fill in as right wing back? I think Lee answered that one. I think the answer's no. Next question. Anthony's mentioning here, talking about the job Jackson Smith has done. We did mention it a little bit earlier.
Darren did, didn't
he? Yeah. He's would I put Evans back in when he's fully fit? No.
He's the one player I'd possibly look at moving on if someone comes in with an offer.
I agree.
Well, I think there's always a chance that a player might have a slight injury or a drop in form, but I think Jackson Smith is definitely going to stay there.
I think you need to have two good. You need to have two competitive goalkeepers pushing each other for a place. Yeah. I wouldn't consider selling Evans personally.
I would if it was that money. Like if someone comes, is it the end of his contract in the summer? Perhaps.
Yes.
Yes.
I think so. He was signed 2 years last year, wasn't he?
Oh, was it? Okay.
I think so.
But if Wrexham want to come and pay like £1 million for him, I think we could say yes to that.
Especially if they're losing Conquo, which is apparently a possibility.
What was his positioning like for that third goal, by the way? The free kick. What was he doing? Sorry.
I think is Hannah your missus or something, Jack?
No. She's the friend of your missus.
Got you. Oh, Hannah from BSL days. That's it. So Ouchie says he does prefer his right foot. Okay, so we're corrected on that. Next question, is Hutchinson's contract up in the summer?
No, next year.
Yeah. Yeah. Fallen Maniac has sort of jumped in with that.
What is big is that all the players who are really important core players, we haven't got signed up till the end of next year.
How about Gordon? Is Gordon a player we need to get signed up?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I think I think if we don't get promoted this season, I think he will be one player that will really struggle to keep hold of this summer. I know his contract's up, and well, I hope they're trying to get him on a longer term contract, but obviously nothing's happened yet. But I think he'll be a player that we'll struggle to keep. I think if we don't get promoted this year,
depends where we finish.
Yeah,
if we finish 8th on goal difference, then I reckon he'll stay. If we finish 10 points off, he'll probably go.
Is Liam Gordon? I know he's not the youngest of the players we've got. We want more from him, don't we?
I think what he does very well. But the crossing is well. Don't forget he's. I know it wasn't a very good cross, but his cross yesterday that won the penalty, it still won a penalty.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that miss it. Yeah.
I think it's the reason he's not playing in League One. To be honest with you, I think if he could have an end product from that left wing back position, I think.
Some of his skill is insane. If he could cross consistently, he'd be still at Bolton.
I agree.
I think as you touched on earlier, I think that's the issue with both wing backs. They both get themselves into really good positions. Both Knowles and Gordon, their energy's great. They actually a lot of people's worry with Tom Knowles early on in the season was that defensively he might not be that great, but obviously he'd give you more in an attacking point of view. It's almost been the other way around. I think he's actually done well defensively. I think the defensive side of his game, particularly Notts County away, where he kept their winger absolutely in his pocket, and I think he's done pretty well defensively. I think both of them, what they need to work on is the final third. I mean, I'm someone who's given Tom Knowles a bit of a hammering in the past. I've been pretty critical of him, and I do want to jump to his defence a little bit, because I have been quite critical of him in previous fan chats, and I have, been a bit negative about him in some of the post-match interviews and stuff that I've done. I think what's benefited him this season is that he's actually had a consistent run of games in the same position. And that was something that he never had last season in particular. And I think he is growing into the role. He does give us balance. He gives us energy. He gives us a bit of pace. He can run all day. And that's something that you need your wing backs to do. They've got to be able to get up and down the pitch all game, which both of them can do. It is just that final delivery and that decision making in the final third, which lets him down on too many occasions. But as I say, I think he is the best option we've got for right wing back at the moment, certainly. Yeah. And as I say, I don't want to come across like I'm always hammering Tom Knowles, because there are attributes to his game that I like, but I think we all know what the main thing is that he needs to improve on.
Yeah, I think Tom Knowles, we do sort of criticise Tom Knowles, but I mean, he's such a high energy player, and everybody loves him for his energy, his quick feet, his pace. When he starts to deliver on the goals and the assists, the clubs way above us are going to be coming for him, because for that pace and fitness.
I think he will in the second half, Simon. I think the sort of the pennies dropped with him as well. I think he's sort of looked at himself, and he knows. I think if you listen to some of the comments he's made in some of the interviews, he knows he needs to do better in that final third. Yeah. And I think the last couple of games, I'm not saying it's been a big improvement in that final third, but yesterday at Grimsby, some of the balls he was getting in were a lot better. Yeah. And I think DJ, especially with a Tom Knowles, getting them balls across the box, sort of the penalty spot area, 6-yard box, DJ is going to absolutely love it. And I think we'll see in the coming weeks, Tom Knowles and Liam Gordon will just get better and better. And they will start getting them assists, and they'll start getting the goals as well, because I think they'll get the confidence and just the freedom. I think you can see off the players that the sort of the weight's been lifted off the shoulders to a certain degree, and they're just coming out, they're enjoying it, and they're just playing. And sometimes that's the best thing to do, is just go for it and see what happens.
As we started off earlier on, the Priest and Comley are sort of putting a lot more protection there to give them a bit more freedom, and that's a massive thing. In answer to the previous question, I think if we do get a good right wing back in, I still think we should keep Tom Knowles. I think, as Lee said, there's a player there, I think, and he's a good asset for the team. Even if he did get displaced in the team, having somebody like that to come on 15, 20 minutes to go, similar to OT, would be a massive benefit, wouldn't it?
If you'd have asked me 6 weeks ago, when we were playing a back four and Knowles was a winger, I just said, yeah, cash in and get proper wingers. But now he's playing wing back. Keep him.
Yeah. There was a suggestion to put him up front, but I don't think he's not a centre forward, is he?
He can run. If the team's tired, whack him up front.
Well, I suppose if if we're looking for an outlet, then perhaps the pacey player. But of course, that's at the moment that's Douglas James Taylor, because he's got pace to burn and he's a good finisher as well. Grow to the level of the Graydon era. You're getting carried away there, Anthony. I think that's early days. Early days for that. We hope so. We hope so. We can only hope. We can only hope.
But I think on that question now, Simon, I think yes, eventually they will, because I think with Trivella, I think that they will make sure the standards are kept up and will keep moving forward. And yes, there'll be the odd blip and the odd bump in the road going forward, but I think they will invest, and over time you'll see players getting better that stay with us. The ones that can't get better with us will be leaving, and they'll be coming in replacements that are better to keep driving the standards up. And I think over the next sort of 12, 18 months, we'll start seeing it even more, and you'll see the development more and more.
The big difference for me, I know we talked about it before. We've had many conversations on it where we felt Walsall were better, but the facts didn't support it. Well, now the facts are starting to support it. But I think the biggest difference with Trivella is, we're hoping so anyway, is that our players don't get pulled away, so we can build a squad that goes from season to season. Because we know we've been through it so many times where any decent players we have get pulled away, and we start in with like 15, 16 transfers, of which only half of them can run. We're getting away from that, and that's why the build is coming. Whether it's this season or next season, we're heading in the right direction, I firmly believe.
I think that's why we've got so many injury problems, because if you look back in the past when we had players like Gary Liddell or, Lee Tomlin, who came on for 15 minutes, we don't have the people sat behind the bench because we've focused mainly on getting the right players in rather than quantity.
And the thing is, we've got some very energetic, fit players like Mike Flynn, Labadie, bringing him in, Wilmot, bringing him in. They were just his mates. It was just a mates club, wasn't it?
Labadie was Taylor's signing.
I know, but he stayed because of Mike Flynn, because he was out of contract, wasn't he? He signed him on again. I'd let him go. Darren, did you want to come in then? Sorry.
No. I'm joking. No. I kind of went into like a state of like shock when you mentioned Labadie. So I'm just like,
you want to like kick the door or something?
Yeah, I was just like, okay.
The classic Labadie was when he'd been out injured. He came back. He brought him on for a stupid decision to bring him on when we were chasing a game, and then he got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah, it was Crew, I remember.
Crew, 2 yellow cards.
It was
two yellow cards in 15 minutes, wasn't he?
It was the home game before where he actually came on to make his return, and he was like, he got a booking within about 2 minutes, and club captain, you expect a big, round of applause, and people were just laughing at him. It was brilliant.
Oh,
we're not going to get Liam Bennett. I'm just going to
Liam Bennett's League One at the minimum, and Will Evans, is that the guy for? Is it Newport? Is that the guy at Newport that's scoring all the goals?
Will Evans, Newport County, 15 goals.
Yeah, we're not getting him my way.
I want to put
Newport to that crowd.
What was his name? The bloke from Colchester. I found his name. What was his name? He was on loan from Luton. He's a striker. Scored 12 goals.
Oh, maybe we try and get him. I don't know.
Maybe he's the one we've already got. Joe Taylor.
Joe Taylor, is that another one? I think on our at the end of the month, at the end of next month, we'll have to talk about how we think the transfer window has gone, and whether we're happy with the business. That'll be sort of the next challenge.
I have to do a deadline day special.
Pardon?
I have to do a deadline day special.
A deadline? That sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? We'll have to do it just after that. We'll be falling asleep on the show if we have it deadline. Maybe the following day or the following weekend. We have next 4 games. Morecambe, that's been moved, doesn't it? So away to Stockport, at home to Accrington, at home to Sutton. Away to Stockport, that's going to be a spicy one, isn't it?
3 tough games for different reasons.
Yeah.
It is, but we shouldn't have any fear going to Stockport because we've done well at Stockport, haven't we, over recent time? It's not a difficult game. I think Stockport have had a bit of a sticky couple of last results, so they'll be up for it. We'll be up for it. It'll be a good game.
I'm believing that one.
That 3-3-3-1 just makes it look weird.
Yeah. I think we've been playing 3-6-2, which you might wonder about the maths there, but Donovan Daniels has been playing centre half and attacking midfield, hasn't he? Harry Maguire official channel. Hi, Harry. Glad to have you with us. Is DJ as good as most fans say, or is he a bit overrated? We scored 15 goals in the first half of last season, so and he scored 20 in 50 appearances. So.
Yeah, his record in League Two is he's a goal every other game striker. That's his record. So you can't argue with facts.
Despite that, we haven't been playing him.
Yeah, well, in League Two, he is a goal every other game striker.
But now I want to say one thing. I can remember talking to a Leighton Orient fan, the barber guy, on my Walsall Fan TV Insights, and he talked about DJ, and he said he's a half-season guy. He only plays good for half the season.
Well, that's good. We've got half the season coming up.
Well, I was going to say, if he's good for the second half of the season, it could be just what we need.
Going back to them games you just read out, the Accrington and the Sutton game, and even the Morecambe game, them 3 will be interesting because obviously Sutton was a disaster.
Yeah,
Jack was there. I was there. It was just
that's an overstatement.
it was a disaster. Accrington, for whatever reason, we just didn't turn up at Accrington, and Accrington sort of bullied us and everything. Phil backed me up on that one. He just Morecambe, we should have got something out of that game, and they sort of we were really in that game, and then sort of the last 15 minutes it sort of went off the rails. So them 3 games could be 3 really good games for us, because if we could get, and I know it's a bit hard to say get 3 wins, but if anything we can get out of them 3 games will be a bonus, especially the Sutton game, because how they turned us over 4-0. Honest to God, at the moment, the way Sutton are playing,
it'll be a different game. We won't try and match up to them this time.
Yeah, exactly. Just play our own game.
The other thing about the Sutton game as well is the big striker who got 2 against us, I believe. Is it Smith?
Yeah.
Big striker. He picked up his 2nd straight red card of the season in the last game, so he's going to be suspended for that game.
That's 4 matches, isn't it? If you get 2 straight reds.
It's what? Sorry, mate.
Isn't that 4 matches?
Yeah, so he's out for 4, possibly 5 games. But I did see that he'll be suspended for that game, which will obviously
brighten my day. That's good news.
takes that out of the equation. And going back to Accrington, I just thought it was interesting after the Accrington game that Sadler kept talking about the conditions constantly in the post-match interview, but I think Lee would agree. We did look a little bit like an under-11s team who didn't want to play because it was a bit cold and a bit wet against Accrington. It was a pretty.
It was felt, and it was a bit weird because I didn't realise how young the Accrington team was. They actually got a younger team than us. I think they had in their starting 11. I think they had either 5 or 6 players that had come through their academy. Yeah. So most of them were sort of 18, 19-year-olds, and they sort of bullied us, which was really bizarre thinking about it now.
Manager, isn't he the most experienced manager left in the EFL?
Yeah, he is.
Coleman, he's been there.
And we've got the youngest, so kind of.
Now there's the other one. Is he left? Isn't he? He was the owner's lad, isn't he?
No, that's
still John Coleman.
It's Cole. Yeah, the one you're thinking of is the guy at Harrogate, Weaver.
That's it.
Who's the chairman's son?
Yeah, he's the longest serving because his dad owns the club.
And obviously with them being at home as well, having Sutton come to the Bescot and Accrington come to the Bescot, hopefully that'll work in our favour as well. So sort of 3 games there, that be interesting to see what we get. I think if we could get even I would say if we get a draw at Stockport, that'll be a good draw,
Yeah.
and then try and get at least 2 wins out of the other 3 games, and maybe another draw. So maybe sort of 8 out of that, then 4 games would be really good and keep us up there.
Yeah, I think 7 points from those 3 games would be promotion form, wouldn't it? I've got a comedy one. We always get a comedy one in. Any news on us signing that Dutch striker Hertz Van Rental? How about that? It takes all kinds of dad jokes, doesn't it? That's it.
That's my mate Neil. He throws that one out every transfer window. He throws that one out.
I think now is the time to sack the manager and appoint a big name down internationally. Oh dear!
I saw a rumor that we're going to be going after Lampard, which is very funny.
Oh. That's it. Paul Bales is right there. Sadler's sticking to his system. That's it. We've got to keep going, hasn't he? Is Sadler's sticking to his routine? He's not criticising players when we have a bad performance.
Flynn.
So he's keeping everybody with him. We know a certain Mike Flynn who was roasting his players during the game. That sort of went on the Twitter round. That's oh dear. Guys, you talking about the Sutton game? We were playing the 4th round of the FA Cup that day.
Good point. Good point. Good point. That is, yeah.
Potentially, could be, yeah, could be. Fair point.
So we just don't want to be derailed, do we? We sort of all happy and smiley.
Yeah. I just going back, just like very quickly. I mean, I did say like in a couple of fan chats ago that we're in a very similar position this time last year with Michael Flynn, and I actually looked up the stats on it just to see whether it was the case or whether it was just a figment of my memory. So obviously at the moment we've got 36 points from 25 games. This time last season we had 36 points from 23 games. So we actually had the same number of points from 2 fewer matches this time last season, which is why I said earlier on I'm cautiously optimistic about going into the second half of the season.
Yeah.
We all know what happened in January, and we all know what subsequently happened with Flynn. So that's why I'm not getting. I'm kind of a little bit like that anyway. I don't get too overexcited if we win. I don't get too down in the dumps if we lose. There's a long way to go left in this season, but my big thing is for this season is we've got to make sure we do January properly. We've got to keep what we've got. We've got to resist offers. If it's a ridiculous offer for a player, then I can understand if we sell, but we've got to reinvest in proper players to take their places, and we've got to give Matt Sadler a chance to bring in some quality players that are going to add strength and depth to the squad. And if we do that, we're going to give ourselves half a chance this season. If we do what we did last January, then I can only see a similar outcome. Perhaps not as dramatic as the fall off the cliff last season, but that's the point.
The friend of mine, Adam, he's been a regular Walsall fan for forever, really. He always says you can judge Walsall on what they do in January. And that's exactly the same. And next time we meet on our next fan chat, we'll know what we've done for January. So that's going to be an interesting one. Right then, I think we should leave it there. Final comments from Lee?
Well, hopefully, next time we have the fan chat, we'll be in the 4th round of the FA Cup and we'll be in a playoff place.
I'm liking the sound of that. Jack?
I'm not going to be optimistic. I only know pain.
Oh dear. Right then, Darren, final word.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate. I don't think we've probably talked enough about how I think the job Matt Sadler has done to turn this. I genuinely can't believe how well he's turned it around. And for someone like myself who was quite negative about him, I just wanted to reiterate that. But we need a good January, so let's see what happens. It'd be very, 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 very Walsall FC if we're now down in the dumps in the next one. So hopefully it goes well.
Well, fingers crossed. We keep the joy going. Final word from Phil before we finish.
I think I've said all I want to say. Just Happy New Year to all of you and to all the Walsall fans out there. Hope 2024 is a good year for all of you. but with football and in life generally. So all the best, everybody.
That's it. As much as we're enjoying things now, it is about the joy and the pain. So, and sometimes going through the pain, sometimes going through the pain sort of helps you enjoy the joy all the more. And life is like that. Life has its ups and downs, has some challenges, and it's how you respond and you fight and get through things. And good old Matt Sadler, he's gone through his dark days, and he's seeing the joy, and we're enjoying it. Right then, thanks very much for watching, everybody. The joy and the pain continues, and the balance is finally being sort of redressed. If anybody hasn't subscribed, join the journey. You can also join as a member now as well. And if you want to send us some super thanks, that would also be appreciated. I do have another project around my writing side of things. So anybody that likes reading and likes to hear people's stories, I've got a list of authors coming on to my new show. It's called the Budding Author Podcast. So if you want to hear about writers' journeys, have a look at that. Right then. Thanks very much. Cheers, everybody. Cheers.
All right.
See ya.